Welcome, the chosen ones. Truth has a way of walking back into the room when everyone thinks it's gone. What's happening right now isn't confusion, it's exposure. The same mouths that once moved so confidently behind your back are now trembling in silence, terrified that the truth they buried might rise again. They're not avoiding you because they don't care. They're staying away because they're guilty. They lied about you to the wrong person, and now that lie has turned into their own undoing. The universe has a brutal sense of timing. It doesn't shout when it delivers justice. It lets people destroy themselves in the silence they created for you. And let's be clear, this silence around you isn't emptiness, it's aftermath. You've walked through the storm already. You've seen the chaos, the rumors, the way people's smiles turned into smirks when your name came up. Now it's quiet because the truth is making its rounds. The whispers have stopped, not because they forgot you, but because everyone's watching the ones who lied. The world feels different now. The energy has shifted. You can almost feel it in the air, like the tension that hangs right before a thunderstorm breaks. It's not your imagination. It's the moment when masks start falling off one by one. Chosen one, before we go deeper, press that like button and subscribe, not for me, but to send this message out into the universe. When you do, you're returning the energy. You're helping this truth find every soul who's been through this kind of betrayal. Now listen closely. This part hits where it hurts. For them, the ones who lied about you thought they were clever. They thought their little performance would earn them sympathy, attention, or status. But they didn't realize they were talking to the wrong person. That person they confided in. The universe had already placed intuition in their mind. One detail didn't add up. One tone felt off. One thing you said once upon a time lingered in their memory. And suddenly the puzzle snapped into place. The liar's story fell apart, and now they're terrified. They're avoiding you not because you did anything wrong, but because they see their reflection in your calmness. They can't stand the reminder of what they tried to destroy. You might not know it yet, but that one conversation flipped everything. The lie that once painted you as the villain now exposes them as the fraud. The universe doesn't miss. It's patient. It watches as people dig their own holes, then simply steps aside when they fall in. And now that they've been caught in their own web, they can't face you. The shame burns too deep. The irony? They wanted to control how people saw you. Instead, they taught the world who they really are. Do you remember those nights when you kept quiet, even though you knew what was being said? When your heart told you to wait, to stay silent, to let time do the talking? That was wisdom in motion. You didn't fight back because you didn't have to. The universe was already in the room where they were lying. Every rumor they spread became a confession recorded in energy. Now the same people who once laughed at your pain can't even make eye contact. They flinch when your name comes up. They act busy when you walk in, hoping you don't look their way. They know they've been found out. This is poetic justice unfolding in real time. They tried to assassinate your reputation like it was an easy game, but the truth has a loyalty they can't compete with. The person they lied to has power, maybe influence, or maybe just integrity. But either way, that lie hit the wrong set of ears. Now the liar's credibility is dissolving. The phone calls stopped. The fake smiles disappeared. The alliances they built are collapsing because their foundation was rotten from the start. And you, chosen one, you didn't have to lift a finger. You just kept walking in your truth. That's the most powerful revenge there is. Your peace became their punishment. Your absence became their mirror. While they hide in fear, you're out here glowing, unbothered and protected. Every lie told against you is now working for you. It's rewriting your story in the most poetic way possible by showing that no matter what they said, the universe always sides with truth. So don't mistake their silence for victory. It's not peace, it's panic. They can't come near you because your presence reminds them of everything they tried to bury. They're not running from you, they're running from what they did. That's the power of the chosen ones. You don't need to expose anyone. Your energy does it for you. And hey, chosen one, yes, you. Take a deep breath, because what's coming next isn't just a story, it's your confirmation. You've felt that strange silence lately, haven't you? The sudden distance, the awkward energy, the people who used to call now acting like you vanished. That's not coincidence, it's consequence. They're staying away because their lie hit the wrong ears, and now the universe is replaying the truth in front of them. So before we dive deeper, drop a 777 in the comments if you can feel that shift, if you know their guilt has finally caught up to them. This is your moment to understand everything they tried to hide. And now, let's go deeper, step by step. Stay till the end, because if you really are one of the chosen ones, your spirit will recognize every word like it's been waiting for this message. This isn't just another story. It's the full breakdown of why they can't look you in the eye anymore. Let's get into it. Number 1. They bet against your name, and the universe made them pay in public. Never gamble with someone else's truth, because when it comes back, it collects with interest. They didn't just lie about you, chosen one. They bet against you. They put your name on the table like a cheap coin in a game they thought they could rig. They laughed as they spun the story, thinking the odds were in their favor. But what they didn't realize is that the universe was sitting at that same table, quietly watching, stacking the deck against them. They whispered your name to the wrong person, the one voice that could have either destroyed or defended you, and that one reckless move became the costliest mistake of their entire social life. You see, this wasn't just gossip. This was a gamble with your reputation, your peace, your credibility. They thought they were playing a small game, but they forgot how high your value really is. When they tried to ruin you, they didn't just target your image, they tampered with destiny. The person they lied to wasn't naive. They were the kind who observes before they believes, who reads energy faster than words. And when that person heard your name dragged through the dirt, something in their gut said, "Wait, this doesn't sound right." That pause, that single moment of silent doubt, was the beginning of their downfall. Because once a discerning person senses a lie, they don't expose it immediately. They study it. They let the liar talk more. They notice the tone, the eyes, the inconsistencies, and the more the liar spoke, the more they revealed their own insecurity. The energy didn't match the words. The story felt forced, over-explained, desperate. That's when the listener started watching you from afar, quietly comparing what was said to what they actually saw. And what they saw was truth. They saw how calm you were when you should have been angry. They saw how you kept your grace when chaos surrounded your name. They saw you treat people with kindness when you had every reason to shut down. And suddenly, the lie didn't hold anymore. It collapsed under the weight of your character. Now, the very person they tried to poison against you is the one silently defending you in rooms you don't even know exist. That's what terrifies them. That's why they're avoiding you, not because they hate you, but because they exposed themselves in front of someone who now knows exactly who they are. And chosen one, let that sink in. The same people who once acted like you were the problem are now tripping over their own guilt just to stay out of your sight. They're afraid that being near you might reopen the wound they tried to hide. They can't face the reality that their lie didn't just fail, it backfired publicly. Because the person they confided in? They talk, they share things. And word spreads fast when integrity gets involved. You didn't even have to lift a finger. The universe used their own voice to undo them. Here's the brutal truth. They weren't trying to protect anyone. They were trying to impress someone. They wanted to look smarter, stronger, more important than you. But the irony is, their attempt to outshine you only highlighted how insecure they really are. They tried to dim your light in front of someone who already felt your glow, and instead of making you look bad, they exposed themselves as small. That's why their silence feels so heavy now. It's not just shame, it's exposure anxiety. Every time they walk into a room, they wonder who knows the truth. Every time someone mentions your name, their stomach tightens because they can't control the narrative anymore. They wanted to destroy your credibility, but they handed it to you instead. Because now, that same influential person sees you as the one who stayed authentic, the one who didn't need to explain, defend, or prove anything. You became the contrast. You didn't fight the rumor. You became living proof that the rumor was a lie. And that's something the liar can't stand. The universe flipped the script, and now the tables have turned so hard that even silence speaks for you. Let's be real, you probably sensed something was off long before this. The sudden shift in people's tone, the tension in the air, the awkward avoidance. It wasn't paranoia, it was awareness. Your intuition picked up what your logic couldn't yet prove. That's the gift of the chosen ones. You feel betrayal before you hear it. But instead of chasing explanations, you let it breathe. You gave the universe space to handle it. And now it has. The truth has traveled quietly but effectively, exposing every false tongue that once used your name for attention. So if you've been wondering why certain people don't reach out anymore, this is why. They didn't lose interest. They lost control. They can't talk to you without fearing what might slip out. They can't meet your eyes without remembering what they said. Their distance isn't disrespect, it's defense. Because when people lie about you and realize they've been caught, they don't apologize. They vanish. They'll pretend to be busy, avoid your presence, maybe even act like you changed. But deep down, they know they're the reason for the silence. This is your vindication, chosen one. Not through revenge, not through confrontation, but through revelation. The universe has made your truth undeniable. And that's the beauty of poetic justice. It doesn't scream, it echoes. Every time they look at the person they lied to, they're reminded that the lie didn't land, that their manipulation didn't work, that you stood tall without saying a word. Remember this, people who lie about you don't just gamble with your name, they gamble with their own peace. Because once the truth comes out, they can't unlive the consequences. They walk around paranoid, waiting for the next person to find out. That's their punishment, their own mind on replay. And meanwhile, you're out here thriving, glowing, and attracting the same kind of discerning people who once saw through that lie. So stand firm in your silence, chosen one. You didn't lose anything, they did. You didn't get exposed, they did. And the next time you feel that chill in the air when they pass by, understand it's not your imagination. It's their guilt brushing against your energy. The universe doesn't forget. It collects every whisper, every deceit, and it always pays it back with interest. Number 2, they played the villain in a story they were meant to learn from. Some people fail the test not because they're evil, but because the truth you carry exposes the lie they live. They thought this was a harmless game, a little story here, a twisted truth there, a way to protect their ego, win attention, or control a narrative that was never theirs to write. But what they didn't realize, chosen one, is that when they lied about you, they weren't just spreading gossip. They were signing up for their own exposure. You were never just a person passing through their life. You were the test, the mirror, the unspoken lesson that forces people to face who they really are when no one's watching. The test isn't about how they treat you when you're winning. It's how they treat you when the room goes quiet and no one's cheering. Imagine this. Someone walking into an exam they didn't study for, confident because they think they already know all the answers. That's what they did when they met you. You were placed in their life not to hurt them, but to measure the honesty of their soul. Your presence was like a truth serum. It made their insecurities come out, their jealousy surface, their intentions show. Instead of recognizing that as an opportunity to grow, they panicked. They failed their test the moment they chose deceit over honesty. They thought they were safe because no one saw them whispering, but the universe doesn't grade based on who's watching. It grades based on who you are when you think no one will find out. And now the results are in. They failed miserably. The story they tried to twist against you ended up wrapping around their own throat. The lie they built to look powerful became a mirror reflecting everything they feared about themselves. You were the calm that showed their chaos, the truth that revealed their disguise, the peace that exposed their envy. Think about it. Why did they feel so threatened by you in the first place? You didn't compete with them. You didn't attack them. You simply existed in truth, and that alone was enough to unnerve them. They saw your silence as superiority, your boundaries as arrogance, and your light as a challenge. But the truth is, they were never competing with you. They were competing with the version of themselves that couldn't match your peace. You were like a clear mirror showing them their own cracks, and instead of healing, they tried to break the mirror. Imagine standing in a room full of mirrors. Every reflection shows something slightly different. One reflection smiles back, another looks distorted, another refuses to meet your eyes. That's how your presence felt to them. You made them confront the version of themselves they'd been hiding from, and when a person isn't ready to grow, they attack the thing that reminds them they need to. You didn't threaten them with your words, you threatened them with your energy, because truth doesn't compete, it exposes. The universe gave them a choice to protect your name or to poison it, to rise or to rot, and they made their decision. They picked the easy route, the gossip, the shade, the whisper campaigns. They chose to be the villain because it felt safer than being vulnerable, but villains always forget something important. The story never ends with them on top. The same stage they used to perform their lies is the same one the universe uses to expose them. And now they're avoiding you because the light in your eyes is unbearable. It reminds them of the test they failed. You might ask yourself, why me? Why did the universe use you as the lesson? Because not everyone can handle being the mirror. Most people crumble under the pressure of false accusations. But you stayed still. You didn't chase revenge. You didn't beg to be believed. You let time and truth work as your advocates. That's what makes you chosen. Your silence carried more integrity than their words ever could. And that silence became the loudest proof of who was real. When the truth stands still, the lie runs itself tired. Imagine a stage after the curtains fall, the spotlight turns off, the crowd leaves, and only echoes remain. That's the energy around them now. The show's over. The applause they once got from their fake stories has turned into awkward silence. People are starting to connect the dots. The person they painted you to be doesn't match what everyone else sees. Their credibility is dissolving in real time, and they can feel it. That's why they walk the other way when they see you. That's why they keep conversations short and nervous, because being around you forces them to relive the moment they failed. They were meant to protect your name when you weren't in the room. That was their test. They were meant to speak truth when lies came easy, to stand for what was right even when no one would know. But instead of choosing loyalty, they chose ego. Instead of covering you, they uncovered themselves. And now that mask they wore so confidently is cracking piece by piece. The irony, you never even had to expose them. They did it themselves by being too loud in rooms that were never safe for them to speak in. When you are real in a world full of illusions, you don't have to prove anything. The fake will reveal themselves by trying to make you look false. Chosen one, understand this clearly. You weren't the one being tested on character. They were. You were simply living your truth, carrying a kind of purity they couldn't fake. Your strength reminded them of their weakness. Your light made their shadows dance, and your honesty made their manipulations look childish. They failed because they couldn't stand next to authenticity without feeling small, so instead of growing, they tried to shrink you. Imagine a candle burning in a dark room. Instead of lighting their own flame, they tried to blow yours out, but every time they spoke your name, they accidentally spread your light. Every rumor they spread became a form of advertising for your resilience. Every lie only made more people curious about who you really are. That's how the universe works. It turns falsehood into fuel. Now they're stuck in a kind of silence that feels like punishment. They can't undo the lie, can't rewrite the story, can't erase what's been exposed. And even though they act unbothered, deep down they know. They failed the easiest test in life, treating someone right when no one was watching. That's the difference between you and them. You passed your tests quietly, they failed theirs loudly. The universe doesn't punish with lightning, it punishes with reflection. So let them run, let them avoid, let them hide. You've already won the part of the story that matters. You've proven that silence can be power, that truth can defend itself, and that light never loses to lies. It only exposes them. They chose to play the villain in a story they were meant to learn from, and now they have to live with the ending they wrote for themselves. Keep walking in your peace, chosen one. The test is over, the results are public, and the universe made sure everyone saw who failed. Number 3. Their lies became evidence, and the universe turned into the judge. When they lied about you, they didn't bury the truth. They buried themselves under the paperwork of their own deceit. They thought it was nothing, just a small story tossed into the air, a piece of gossip that would fade once the moment passed. But lies told about a chosen one don't evaporate, they echo. Every word they spoke became a document, filed and time-stamped in the unseen court of the universe. What they believed was harmless chatter was actually a full confession recorded by forces that never forget. Imagine that, a cosmic courtroom where truth is the judge, time is the witness, and their own words are the evidence. They didn't know they were testifying against themselves. When they opened their mouth to twist your story, they sealed their own, because energy doesn't lie. The universe studies tone, vibration, and intention. It hears what the human ear ignores. And the second their lie left their lips, it became traceable, like ink on paper that doesn't wash away. Now every time your name comes up, that evidence resurfaces. Every time someone mentions you, their guilt twitches. That's the weight of truth collecting its due. The universe doesn't erase lies, it cross-examines them. Imagine this, someone throws a stone into still water, thinking no one will notice. But the ripples travel farther than they expect. That's what happened when they spoke against you. The person they lied to caught something off. Maybe it was the timing, maybe it was the tone, but something didn't sit right. The story didn't breathe like truth. It felt rehearsed, cold, desperate. So instead of believing it, they started watching. Quietly, closely. They paid attention to your actions, your calm, your consistency. And what they saw didn't match the script they'd been told. That's when the trial began. Now the lie is being replayed like a crime scene video in people's minds. Every inconsistency, every missing detail, every forced word is being analyzed again. The same people who once nodded along to the gossip are now side-eyeing the storyteller. They're realizing the villain looks more innocent than the accuser. The lie didn't just fail, it backfired so hard it became public evidence. Truth is slow to speak, but it always arrives with receipts. You might wonder, how do you know justice is happening when no one says a word? Because silence has a sound. You feel it when people who once doubted you suddenly start acting awkward. You sense it in their avoidance, their fake smiles, their sudden kindness that feels like guilt dressed as respect. They know the truth is circling back, and they're terrified of the day it lands. That's why they stay away, chosen one, not because they've moved on, but because the courtroom is still open. The evidence hasn't been sealed yet. Every new blessing you receive, every victory you step into, is another exhibit filed under proof they lied. You're walking proof that their story was false. The universe made you the living testimony. So now, when they see you thriving, glowing, unbothered, it eats them alive. Because they know what they did, and they know the energy they released didn't vanish. It's still circling, still recording, still demanding balance. That's the true punishment. Not exposure, but the quiet knowledge that the truth is watching. When they lied about you, they didn't just lose your trust, they lost the universe's trust in them. And that's a sentence no courtroom can reverse. Number 4, they tried to poison your blessing, but ended up losing their access to it. When they lied about you, they didn't block your blessing. They just introduced you to the person who would protect it. They thought they were clever, slipping your name into conversations like a weapon, sprinkling half-truths and insinuations, trying to shift the light away from you. But here's the irony. They lied to the wrong person. They didn't realize that the one they were trying to turn against you wasn't some random listener. It was someone the universe had placed on your path to bless, guide, or elevate you. The lie they thought would destroy you became the very reason this person started watching you closer, and what they saw completely rewrote the story. At first, that listener might have nodded, silent, taking it in, but something didn't sit right. The story didn't sound natural. The words felt heavy, offbeat, almost sour. They couldn't quite explain it, but they could feel the wrong energy behind it. Why would someone so calm, so grounded, so private need to be talked about like that, they thought. That question was the beginning of your protection. The universe hides your allies in plain sight. It lets your enemies introduce you to them first. Imagine this like a movie scene, someone trying to plant doubt about you, while the person they're speaking to quietly studies them instead. The liar thinks they're planting seeds against you, but every word they say exposes their own insecurity. They over-explain. They repeat details that don't matter. Their tone cracks when they try to sound confident. And the listener, someone intelligent, intuitive, maybe even powerful, starts to see through it. They don't interrupt, they don't argue, they just file the truth away. Because real discernment doesn't react, it observes. Now imagine that same person crossing paths with you later. They see your calm. They watch how you handle yourself when no one's looking. They hear the softness in your voice, the patience in your answers, the steadiness in your energy. None of it matches the picture they were given. Suddenly, the pieces fall into place. The lie was projection, and you were the real thing. That's when the switch flips. The blessing shifts sides. Your silence was your defense. Their words became their confession. Now that same person who was meant to bless you has taken your side, not just privately but energetically. They've pulled back from the liar. They don't return their calls the same. They don't laugh at their jokes anymore. The trust has evaporated. And here's the beautiful twist. You didn't have to expose anyone. The universe did it by letting truth and observation play out in real time. The liar tried to close a door for you, but ended up locking themselves out. You might not even realize it yet, but there's someone silently defending your name in rooms you've never entered. Someone's protecting your energy, your opportunities, and your reputation, not because you asked them to, but because the truth spoke louder than the rumor. The lie became a boomerang, circling back with precision, cutting off the liar from the very influence they wanted to manipulate. The person they lied to became the wall between you and their envy. Now the liar feels it, the distance, the cold shoulder, the shift. They can't understand why they're no longer being welcomed the same way, why conversations end quicker, why opportunities are slipping. It's because the universe rerouted the blessing they tried to hijack. You gained protection without even knowing it. They lost favor without realizing when it happened. And here's the poetic part. All of this unfolded without a confrontation, without drama, without revenge, just truth doing what truth always does, winning in silence. So let them wonder why the energy changed. Let them sit in the discomfort of their own exposure. The person they lied to sees everything now, and they're standing between you and the storm. They wanted to destroy your name. Instead, they revealed your worth. They wanted to make someone question your light. Instead, they made them protect it. That's not luck. That's the universe showing off its balance. Number 5, their lie didn't damage you. It exposed the envy they were hiding all along. Jealousy never speaks in honesty. It dresses itself up as concern and prays you don't hear the tremor in its voice. They didn't just twist your story, chosen one. They revealed their own sickness while doing it. Every lie they told was laced with something darker, something they couldn't control, jealousy. You see, envy doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers behind fake smiles, hiding behind polite words and concerned tones. They didn't realize that while they were trying to sound noble, the energy underneath was screaming the truth. The listener didn't just hear their words, they felt the vibration of insecurity humming behind them. Imagine this. Someone trying to tell a story calmly, but their tone wobbles at the edges. Their smile is too forced. Their phrasing too rehearsed. It's like watching someone leak envy while pretending to be composed. That's exactly what happened. They thought they were manipulating perception, but their own emotions betrayed them. Because jealousy has a sound. It's the tremor in their laugh when your name comes up, the tension in their jaw when they say you're doing well, the way their compliments always come with a sting. The person they were talking to caught it immediately. They might have nodded politely, but inside they thought, something's off here. When someone lies about you, listen less to their words and more to what their tone confesses. The truth is, they weren't mad at anything you did. You didn't hurt them, outshine them intentionally, or steal their spotlight. You just existed in peace, and that peace irritated their chaos. Your composure reminded them of what they lacked. Your growth made their stagnation feel louder. You became the mirror they couldn't look into without crumbling. So they did what insecure people do. They tried to redefine your light as a threat. They painted your calm as arrogance, your focus as selfishness, your strength as coldness. But no matter how they spun it, the vibration of envy couldn't be hidden. It leaked through every sentence like poison in clear water. The tongue can lie, but energy never does. And the person they lied to, they picked up on it. They saw how their eyes darted when your name was mentioned. They noticed how the tone grew sharper when the topic shifted to your success. Real concern carries softness. Jealousy feels heavy. The math didn't add up. The story didn't flow. The listener began connecting dots, and the picture became obvious. You weren't the problem. The liar was. Imagine someone trying to poison a river, but forgetting that everyone downstream drinks from it too. That's what jealousy does. It contaminates the speaker before it ever reaches the target. Now, the person they tried to manipulate sees the truth crystal clear. They've distanced themselves. They no longer believe the narrative. They no longer entertain the liar's conversations. Because once someone recognizes jealousy, it's impossible to unsee it. You don't need to defend yourself when your peace exposes what their envy tried to hide. Now the liar avoids you not because they've grown, but because every time they're near you, that mask starts to slip again. They can't hold eye contact without feeling small. They can't bring your name up without reliving that moment they got caught in their own bitterness. They know they lost credibility, and worse, they lost access. That's the ultimate irony, chosen one. They tried to make others see you as fake, but it only highlighted how fake they are. They thought they could twist your light into a flaw, but the universe used their own tone as the confession. You didn't need to explain yourself. The truth stood tall on its own, while their envy revealed itself like cracks in glass under pressure. So when you notice their silence, their distance, their awkward avoidance, don't mistake it for peace. It's guilt. It's embarrassment. It's the haunting echo of their own jealousy, reminding them that no lie can hide envy forever. The truth doesn't just defend you, it exposes them publicly and permanently. Number 6. Your presence became their confession. They can't stand next to what exposes them. Silence is dangerous to liars. It doesn't argue, it just reveals. They're not avoiding you because they're afraid of what you might say. They're avoiding you because they know they won't survive what you won't say. The quiet around you terrifies them more than any confrontation ever could. You've become too clear, too calm, too undeniable. Being near you is like standing under a spotlight that burns away pretense. They can't fake it around you anymore. Every look, every twitch, every breath would betray them. The truth they buried is alive in your energy, and they can feel it humming through the air like static, unforgiving and magnetic. The truth doesn't chase lies. It waits for proximity to expose them. Imagine standing next to someone who radiates clarity when all you carry is deception. That's what they feel when they see you. Your silence feels like judgment. Your calmness feels like proof. Your glow feels like cross-examination. They know if they come too close, the truth will spill, not from your mouth, but from the unease in their body. Their guilt leaks through nervous laughter, shaky eye contact, and forced smiles. You don't even have to speak. Your presence alone is the interrogation room. They thought time would protect them, that the lie would fade, that people would forget. But time only did what it always does: polish the truth until it shines. Every achievement you've made, every peaceful step you've taken, has become living evidence that their story was false. You became the rebuttal they can't silence. Every glow-up you've had screams the same message louder and louder: they were wrong about you. You are the living contradiction to the story they sold. And that's what burns them most. They see how people look at you now, with respect, admiration, curiosity. They see that your peace draws more attention than their chaos ever could. The people who once believed them now question everything, because energy doesn't lie. The same ones who listened to their gossip are now watching you flourish, and deep down, they're realizing that the math never added up. Imagine a liar holding a cracked mask while standing beside the person they tried to destroy. The comparison alone becomes exposure. That's why they can't be near you. They don't fear you. They fear the reflection they see when they stand next to you. You make their lie look smaller, weaker, childish. You remind them of what they lost: the respect, the trust, the innocence they traded for a cheap story that didn't even stick. The universe made you the mirror they can't stand to look into. Now they keep their distance, not because they've moved on, but because proximity is punishment. Being around you means everyone else would see what they tried to hide. It means facing the fact that you didn't crumble. You evolved. You didn't retaliate. You rose. Every time you walk into a room, their silence grows heavier. They hope people forget, but people are starting to notice the distance, the awkwardness, the tension that only guilt creates. You became the truth in motion, chosen one. You don't need to clear your name. Your growth already did. You don't need to expose them. Their absence already tells the story. Every peaceful step you take forward is another page in their public undoing. And the more you shine, the louder their silence screams. Number 7. They tried to fool a seer, but ended up exposing themselves to the wise. You can fool a crowd with noise, but you can't fool the soul of someone who listens for truth between the words. They thought they were being clever, painting you as the villain, trimming the truth, seasoning it with just enough drama to make it believable, but they made one fatal mistake. They told that story to the wrong person. This wasn't some naive listener looking for gossip. This was someone with depth, someone whose spirit doesn't flinch when deception walks in. The kind of person who reads energy before they believe words. And the moment that lie left their mouth, the air shifted. The tone cracked. The atmosphere felt off. The listener might have smiled politely, but deep inside, they knew something didn't add up. Discernment doesn't argue, it observes. While the liar thought they were playing chess, moving pieces carefully, strategizing their slander, they were really playing checkers in front of a master. The listener saw through the performance instantly. They noticed how every word sounded rehearsed, how the liar exaggerated small details while conveniently skipping the parts that made you look good. They recognized bitterness masquerading as concern. They didn't react, didn't challenge, didn't reveal what they knew. But from that moment forward, a quiet judgment was made, and the liar lost their credibility for good. Imagine this like a courtroom where no one says a word, yet the verdict is already decided. That's what happened in that conversation. The listener heard their words, but felt your truth. They saw the mismatch, the insecurity, the subtle envy behind every sentence. They thought, no, that doesn't sound like the person I know. And with that one thought, the liar's reputation collapsed quietly, permanently, and without appeal. The universe doesn't always expose lies with lightning. Sometimes it just puts the truth in the right listener's heart. From that day on, everything shifted. That discerning person started watching you. They paid attention to your actions, your energy, your consistency, and everything confirmed what they already felt. You were the real one. The peace you carried, the kindness you showed even when misunderstood, became undeniable evidence of your integrity. The same mouth that tried to turn them against you only pushed them closer toward you. That's the power of truth. It magnetizes loyalty without effort. Now, that person quietly protects you. They might not have told you outright, but you can feel it. The way certain doors open, the way conversations tilt in your favor, the way some people who once ignored you now listen differently. That's divine correction unfolding in silence. The liar feels it too. They don't understand why the energy shifted, why their influence suddenly died out, why the person who once laughed with them now keeps their distance. It's because truth doesn't need an announcement. It simply reveals itself to those who can see. The wise don't expose liars, they just stop entertaining them. So let them wonder why the room feels colder now. Let them sit in the confusion of their own undoing. They lied to someone who sees through facades, and now every mask they wear feels too heavy to hold up. You don't need to say a word. The truth already moved to your side, quietly, permanently, and powerfully. Number 8. They built their own cage, and the lie is the lock that keeps them there. A lie is easy to tell, but impossible to live inside. It becomes a house with no exits, and every room echoes your own guilt. They thought they were being clever, spinning your story to fit their agenda. It gave them attention, power, and validation for a moment. They felt important, like they were the ones holding the truth. But now that story has turned on them. They built it too big, too detailed, too dramatic to escape. Every lie they told stacked up like bricks, and now they're trapped inside the very walls they built. Every time they think about coming near you, they hit those walls again. To fix it, they'd have to confess. To reconnect, they'd have to explain. To move forward, they'd have to admit what they did, and that's something they don't have the courage to do. The truth waits patiently. The lie eventually collapses from exhaustion. Imagine someone weaving a web so tightly that even they can't move without getting stuck. That's their reality now. The lie they once used as a weapon became their restraint. At first, it was thrilling. People listened, nodded, sympathized. They felt in control. But the thrill faded fast when the truth started breathing again through your success, your peace, your growth. Now, every step you take forward reminds them of what they tried to bury. Every good word spoken about you feels like a nail sealing their false narrative shut. They can't even enjoy your wins publicly, though deep down they want to, because cheering for you now would raise too many questions. Didn't you say something different about them? I thought you two had a problem. Their silence has become their camouflage, but even that silence exposes them. They're stuck pretending they don't see your glow while secretly watching every post, every move, every new level you reach. They didn't just lie about you, they built a story so fragile that your truth became its demolition crew. And here's the irony, they're not avoiding you out of peace, they're avoiding you out of panic. Every time they imagine standing next to you again, their stomach turns. They know your presence would expose the contradiction they can't explain. They can't face you without their voice cracking, without their guilt showing, without the truth leaking through their body language. That's why they keep their distance, not because they've moved on, but because they can't undo what they created. You didn't exile them, chosen one. Their own words did. Their lies sentenced them to isolation. They can't rewrite the past, and they can't live comfortably in the present. Every attempt to fix it would mean pulling down the illusion they built, and they'd rather sit in silence than face that collapse. But the silence is its own punishment. It grows heavier with every victory you earn, every blessing you receive, every proof that they were wrong about you. The universe has a way of trapping liars in their own fiction. It lets them live long enough to regret the script they wrote. So let them watch from the shadows they created. Their distance isn't peace, it's prison. Their regret isn't hidden. It's loud in every fake smile, every forced laugh, every sudden avoidance. They can't unwrite what's been recorded, and the truth doesn't need to chase them. It already owns the room. You kept walking, they kept lying, and now the distance between you isn't space, it's justice. Number 9. You became the proof. Their lies collapse every time you breathe. They thought your silence was weakness, but it was the sound of evidence being built in peace. They were sure you'd break. They needed you to stumble, to react, to explode, anything to make their lie look real. But you didn't. You stayed quiet, grounded, focused. You didn't chase rumors or plead your case. You just kept moving. And that terrified them. Because when a chosen one stays calm, the universe gets loud. Every blessing, every new level, every moment of peace became another receipt. Another piece of undeniable proof that they were the liar all along. Time doesn't protect liars, it archives them. Imagine this, they built a fake story about you, and now they have to live in a world where your success keeps fact-checking them daily. Every glow-up, every new connection, every compliment you receive in public feels like an audit of their deception. They said you were unstable, yet your consistency is unmatched. They said you were fake, but your authenticity keeps shining. They said you were jealous, but you've celebrated others and never lost grace. Your existence has turned into a living document of truth, and every time they see you, it's like their own lie stamped declined. Your peace became the paragraph that corrected their entire story. They can't handle seeing you win because it ruins their narrative. You've become the contradiction to everything they claimed. The people who once believed them now look back and realize the math never added up. The energy never matched. Your life now screams the truth louder than any defense could. You became the receipt, the living, breathing evidence that the universe sides with truth. And here's what stings them most. You didn't have to fight them to win. You didn't need revenge or validation. You let time do the talking, and time exposed them better than words ever could. Every new season you step into burns their lie a little more. Every ounce of peace you carry is proof they never had power over your story. They wrote rumors in pencil, but you built your truth in ink. Now they stay away not out of peace, but out of shame, because being near you reminds them of how wrong they were. You've become everything they said you weren't: calm, strong, blessed, untouchable. You are the receipt that never fades, the evidence they can't argue with, the truth they can no longer deny. Number 10. They can't look you in the eye because you became everything they tried to shatter and couldn't. You can't destroy what's pure, you can only expose what's corrupt. They can't face you now, not because you wounded them, but because you didn't. You never stooped to their level. You never fought dirt with dirt. You didn't turn bitter or vengeful when they dragged your name through the mud. You just kept walking, calm and unshaken, while their own actions became the confession. That's what terrifies them, the purity they couldn't touch, the peace they couldn't poison. They threw chaos your way, and you gave them silence. They expected war, and you gave them grace. That contrast broke them more than confrontation ever could. Staying pure in a world that tried to stain you is the loudest revenge. They thought they could bait you into losing your composure. They wanted you to explode so they could point and say, "See, that's who they really are." But you never gave them that satisfaction. You stayed grounded, collected and centered in truth. You didn't chase the lie, you let it destroy itself. And now, every time they see you, they're reminded that they failed. They couldn't twist your peace into pride. They couldn't turn your silence into guilt. They couldn't stain what was already clean. Your purity became their punishment. Imagine this. They look at you now and see the same calm spirit they once tried to break. The glow they hoped would fade is brighter than ever. Your energy feels untouchable, and that makes them uneasy. Because deep down, they know. They didn't expose you. They exposed themselves. They didn't ruin your reputation. They ruined their own credibility trying. They aimed to shatter your peace, but all they did was prove how unshakable you really are. Your composure became the mirror that forced them to see the monster they created. Now, every encounter feels like Judgment Day for them. Your eyes, steady, kind, clear, remind them of every deceit they spoke. Your smile, calm and effortless, makes them relive the guilt they buried. You are living proof that truth doesn't fight, it outlasts. You became what they feared most, evidence that integrity survives anything. They avoid you now because being in your presence means facing the part of themselves they can't lie to. Your energy exposes them without a word. Your peace convicts them without confrontation. That's why they hide behind silence and distance. It's easier than facing what they lost: your trust, your respect, your warmth. They tried to destroy your character, but only revealed their own. So walk tall, chosen one. You don't owe them anger, explanation, or closure. Your existence is closure. Your glow is testimony. You've already won the battle they started. You are the living contradiction to every rumor they created, the proof that truth needs no defense. Let them watch from afar, because that distance isn't avoidance anymore. It's justice. Their punishment is to see what survived their attempt to destroy it. You, pure, radiant, and untouchable. And now, chosen one, as the dust settles, you can finally see it clearly. Their lies never buried you. They buried themselves. Every attempt to break you only proved how unbreakable you are. You didn't just survive. You became the evidence, the evolution, the example. Let them watch from afar while you keep rising higher in truth and peace. Your silence told the story better than any defense ever could. If this message spoke to your spirit, hit that like button, subscribe for more, drop the number 77 in the comments, and share this so every chosen one finds their strength again.